I'd like to ask Linda Skipper's forgiveness as I probably misquote her. She was elected to the Nominating and Leadership Development Committee and admitted that she didn't really know what that committee does and or why she should be on it. But she said that she had noticed something when that was unexpected to her when she first started attending our church. She said that she saw people from within the congregation actually leading the church and that this had surprised her. This was, in fact, why Linda was eventually willing to say yes and take the unknown risk of becoming a part of what is a very important committee within any Unitarian Universalist congregation. There are essentially two ways that congregations organize themselves, hierarchically and then congregationally. I suspect that synagogues, temples, and mosques are organized along the same lines, but I don't know about that. I do know about churches. Lana and I were both raised in the United Methodist Church, which is organized hierarchically. One of the ways that the Methodists differentiate themselves from the Roman Catholic Church which is maybe the most hierarchical of all the church organizations, is that they say that there's no single executive leader, nor is there a single headquarters for the Methodist Church in the way that Rome and the Pope serve the Roman Catholic Church. Instead, policy is set at a general conference and then administered by a council of Methodist bishops. Now, in my home district, the Great Plains District in Kansas, Nebraska, I can't remember all of the states, one of the policies that was administered by the district, by the bishop of that district, was the assignment of ministers. In the Methodist Church, ministers rotate every 4 years. Our particular church was unique in that we kept a minister for most of my years growing up because his wife was an invalid, which made relocation very difficult. But when he retired, we went into the 4-year rotation, which is something that our particular congregation chafed against. But eventually, we had to adhere to the policy of the district. Congregationally organized churches, on the other hand, like UUMSB, decide on their own ministers and many other important decisions. We control our own budget. We decided here within this church to officially become a welcoming congregation. Another example is that the Unitarian Universalist Association may suggest that we adopt the eighth principle, but that decision is made right here within this congregation. This makes the role of the Nominating and Leadership Development Committee critical in the ongoing life of our particular covenantal community. We're charged with nominating the individuals who fill the positions that are required for any 501c3 nonprofit organization, but also we nominate the people who set policy for this community. And of course, we look within our own membership to fill those roles. But what about the leadership development side, the other task that our committee is charged with? We have no official role in picking the chair of any of the committees. Within each committee, it's a do-it-yourself process where they decide for themselves about their leadership. In fact, as Linda Skipper noticed, leadership throughout the entire congregation is do-it-yourself. The DIY mentality goes well beyond committee work. The periodic tag sales that we have they raise funds for the congregation. They're not organized under the structure of any particular committee. A group of people simply sees the need and then fills it. One of my favorite activities is beer ministry. Eric Christensen had started an organization at his previous church in Maryland for camaraderie and conversation and thought it would be a good idea in this church. And now we have up to 25 participants each month in the beer ministry. And if you're interested, there's one happening Wednesday. See Eric for details. The very existence of this congregation was a DIY project. Some people met in the living room of Kathy Duhan's home on July 23rd of 1995. By August, they had come up with a name, the Unitarian Universalist Meeting of South Berkshire, and by October, they had a steering committee. UUMSB first appeared on an order of worship on December 17th, 1995. It was a DIY design created by Dana Cummings. This congregation intuitively knows that leadership is not a position, but an activity. Someone is concerned about something or has aspirations for something and articulates that issue. Articulating these concerns or aspirations in a way that makes them apparent to others is the first step in leadership. DIY leadership does this both within and outside of committees. But real leadership only happens when people act together to address these issues. Linda Skipper was willing to take the risk to join something unknown and take up a critical role within the Nominating and Leadership Development Committee. Eric was willing to share his weird idea and the possibility of rejection, and it worked. Marion Jansen tends to gather a bunch of people together to work on the tag sales, and there's a lot of work involved in advance of each one of those events. Leadership happens when people see the gap between what they want and where they are right now, and then work with others to close that gap. You don't have to be on a committee or be a committee chair to lead. You just have to be willing to take action with others. Easy, right? Well, as Linda knows and as Eric knows, there's risk involved. And as Marion knows, it takes trial and error and tenacity. Tag sales sometimes have been successful and sometimes less so. The beer ministry sometimes only has 8 or 9 people show up. There simply is not a single right way to lead. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. Instead, DIY leadership requires a commitment to each other. It requires listening carefully and sometimes hearing that you are part of the problem. It requires pushing to get things done and knowing when to back off and give people space. It requires a recognition that we are all in this together. We only achieve something when people can move together. Any organization, including ours, needs people in positions of authority. The Sunday Service Committee needs the authority to ask a guest speaker in when Carol's out of the pulpit. The Facilities Committee needs the authority to hire an electrician. The board needs the authority to manage our budget. But it is only DIY leadership that lets us meet our biggest challenges. In this congregation, we don't wait for someone else to tell us what to do. We have no bishops. We get no assignments from our district. Instead, we work with each other to manage our own business and meet the challenges that we define for ourselves. We are only able to do this because we share an understanding of what we want as a community. We are only able to do this because we are committed to each other. Whatever the results, we own them. They are ours.